Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome to the March
Well, I haven't
Literally
been to
Wasted book discussion for Hyperion by Dan Simmons.
Oh, my
What you need?
copy.
Oh.
It's fine. It's over there.
But first,
You better.
It's appropriate.
while we have a manageable comment section,
Ooh, okay.
Amelia, who's here?
I will tell you. Oh my God, it's so manageable. Hi, Giggles and Tammy and Spare and Stacy, Dan, Alex, Jeff and Jennifer. Hi, Bobby and Brandy and Mary and Sandy and Randy and Leanne and Rachel.
Randa.
Hi, Brandy and Kent. And what?
Randa.
What did I say?
You said Randy.
Randa. You know I don't know where I
Sorry,
am.
Start over.
Get it right.
Hi, Giggles and Tammy and Spare and Stacy, Dan, Alex, Jeff and Jennifer. Hi, Bobby and Brandy and Mary and Cindy, Randa and Leanne and Rachel. Hi, Brandy and Kent and Judy and Tim and Henry and Kelly and Willa. Hi, Judy and Tara and Rachel. Hello. And Adam and Christy and Lucas and Talia.
And Tara.
And Tara.
Nice.
And Jody.
You really punched Randa there, though.
Yeah, we have
I
to get
wanted
it right.
to make sure because I know. Okay, to be fair, Randa, I 100% know how annoying it is for people to mispronounce your name. Happens to me all the time. I get Talia, all the things.
Yeah,
But also,
Adam,
Randy
Adam.
is a great name because my dad's name is
Adam.
Randy, so I'm partial to it, and I think that's why it just clicked in my brain. Either way, Randa's a really cool name. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Sorry.
Okay. So
And Martin, who can't make it.
Martin,
here we are.
I'm in.
Well, you
He's
made
probably drinking some whiskey.
But hi,
Um,
Martin. You did make it.
Okay, so we are here to talk about Hyperion by Dan Simmons. Snake fingers.
Ew.
Um,
Kind of hurt.
So this book was, this was a marathon. This was a workout. So if you did not finish this book, we get it. We see a lot of people in Discord that were like, "Woo, woo," and that's, I think that was a quote on the back of the book. Woo!
Yep, it's
Yeah.
there.
Um,
But I would love to know, like, if you didn't finish the book, how far did you get? Like, which chapter or story did you read last?
yeah, like what did you get to? So I finished it.
I also
You
finished
finished it. Did y'all finish it?
Huh?
You're breaking up our internet connection.
What? I can't hear you. Hold on.
So let's jump
Is
into
something
it.
wrong with the internet?
You know, I will
It's
say,
okay though.
I will say, if we weren't reading this for Literally Wasted, when I started it, I wished I could have set it aside for a different time. Because when I started it, it just
This book
wasn't
is not
right.
a light read. It's not an easy read. It's like if the Canterbury Tales was now. So like there's a lot. And this book, I mean, I had to listen to the audiobook, and there was no
He
way.
doesn't do that.
I don't do that. There's no way I was going to finish it if I wasn't on like a 12-hour drive to Savannah and back, which is I listened to this basically the whole time, and it still had more.
Yeah, he
to
still had
go.
to listen to it when he got back.
So it was. So I'm sorry I put this in the book poll, but that said, I enjoyed it.
I'll be honest. I actually do want to finish this book. Not right now. For the sake of my mental health, I decided not now. Not now.
Yeah, no, it's very cool, and I can tell that it's because what Christy or Adam, someone who's more knowledgeable, someone in the comments, is this one of
Everybody.
4
Yes.
Yeah.
books?
Well, but the first 2 books are like one story is kind of the impression I've gotten since finishing the book. And then
Yes.
there's like 2 or 3 more that have a different feel. You guys correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of how I...
Yeah. So there's this one, The Fall of Hyperion, which is the second half of the story.
Here, Jeff's.
And then yeah.
Okay, one of
and then
4.
there's
but really
Endymion
one.
and
Okay.
then something else in Endymion. That's the second 2. But yeah, if we're just jumping into like initial thoughts, I enjoyed this. Again, like I think some people are saying like it took a long time to get into. That is true.
Mhm.
Well, that was my problem.
And I think
Go ahead.
I wasn't prepared for this to be structured like the Canterbury Tales. I was prepared for a story, and then when they were like, we're all going to tell our stories, I thought that was just going to be a small part. And I was like, oh, this is
And
people telling their stories.
And I wish they would have structured it like that in the book, though, better, because I think I would have done better, because it really was daunting. And yes, the Audible, if you have Audible or if you're at all interested to just buy that one, it really is. It's like a cast recording. It's very highly produced. It's really cool, and I think it helps having different voice actors.
I appreciated that.
I just wish it weren't like giant chunks, because when I see that and it's like a 3-hour section, it already makes me feel like it's an insurmountable task. And then like we've had a lot going on, and work and family stuff, and so it's just like, if I could have like had some smaller bits to be like, great, I finished the priest, great, I finished the investigator, it would have done a lot better for me. But it was already like, as soon as I booted it up and you see 22 hours and like just a couple giant
4
sections,
hours till the next section.
Yeah, like it's just, it doesn't, and it's a dumb thing, but it's like a mental block where you're already like, wow, how am I going to get through this and do life right now? And so I'm with a lot of people. I did not finish. I started, and I'm sorry, Adam, I just kind of jumped in, so I guess I'll just bowl over you for a second.
I'll just pick up
I
where you left off.
apologize. But it's I love what it's setting up, and I love the world, and it's kind of like a Dune tangent for me. It's like it's setting up this big broad world, and I really want to explore everything in it, but I'm kind of like Talia. It was kind of too much right now for where I am in life.
Yeah, I can see that too. And like it's daunting when you're like, oh no, I can't. There's not a good stopping point. Like you gotta like find your own stopping points. Like once I figured out what the structure was, I was able to handle it better, and I really enjoyed it. And I appreciated that each story was like its own like little movie or like little novella or whatever. And they had like different genres, and like you had like the action hero guy, you had the sort of detective story, and like there was all sorts of genres. It could have, for me, it could have been a little bit less wordy. I think that you get into a story and you have like 70 pages of backstory. I think somebody mentioned this in the comments somewhere. You got like 70 pages of like, why am I even hearing about this? What is even the point of this? And then you get to like the last 5 pages, and it's like, oh yeah, and they got to Hyperion, and boom, and you're like, oh shit, okay. Well, I could have done without 70% of that.
I think that was my biggest problem. Like, they started telling the stories. It's like, let's tell why we're going to Hyperion, because this will help us figure out like
what to do when we get to the strike at the time camps.
There. And then like for the first half of like the first 2 stories, I was like, why are you telling them this? They don't need to know this. Like this, it really could have been so much shorter. So I wish it had been structured a little differently. If it had just been 6 short stories, all in this universe, kind of connecting to Hyperion and Keats, like that would have made so much more sense to me. And so after I got through the first 2 stories, I kind of started paying less attention to the stuff in between the stories and like trick my mind to just do that. And that helped me a ton, because I went in like, why?
Well, this is helpful. There's so much in the tales that mean absolutely nothing for the plot of the first book, but you need a lot of it for the second.
Yeah.
Well, good. Okay, then I studied to read the second book.
So it's like this entire novel is just one friggin'
Setup.
huge prologue.
It's all backstory.
Yes. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I will say, like, so I came into this knowing like, okay, I didn't finish and didn't wanna, but was kind of banking on this discussion at least planting the seed for me to want to finish this book later when I feel a little happier, a little healthier, a little steadier, like, you know, then I can pick it back up
I mean,
and start over. Well, no, I'll skip one.
That's good to
honestly,
know for those that want to read the second book. I actually like, for all the complaining, like, I did enjoy this book.
I enjoyed it too.
And I thought that the characters were, I thought that the world building was fantastic. I mean, the guy is a good writer for the most part. He focuses a little bit too much on women's body parts sometimes.
Yeah.
But you know, like, as Dan says, and here's another thing about some of these stories. And I noticed this, and I'll just say it because it has to do with the point I was gonna make. Okay, so some of these stories were told in first person, and some of these stories were told in third person. And it didn't really make sense to me why some of them were first person, some were third person, but like the first person ones I get because like it's actually the person telling the story. Third person's, I don't know. Like Fedman Kassad's The Soldier story was told in third person, and I cannot even imagine what the other how he was even like telling this story to the pilgrims, because he's really getting into some sexy details here, and like these pilgrims are probably all sitting around like, okay, man, like
we didn't need to know that.
But in all these stories, like they sat around, they listened to these stories being told. Saul Weintraub's story was told in third person. I guess they had to because of his daughter, and we had to know what his daughter was doing. So that obviously couldn't be told in first person. But yeah. But yeah, so like,
right, getting a lot of booby comments.
Yeah.
Well, so I to be clear, when I said did not finish, I made that decision early on. I made it through part 1, which now I've seen from some comments that like, yes, part 1 was very like WTF, and that's when I was like, can't and won't. And then like now seeing, like, it is reassuring to see all these comments of like, okay, I did like it, but like you have to make it through that stuff, and there's more. And like someone who said, God, the homework, yes, the homework vibes, like, well, yes, okay, so it was horrifying, and that's when I was just like, no, I pulled the plug immediately. But now knowing that, like, if I pick this book back up, I will just start with number 2. I'm not going to reread. Like, it doesn't matter how long it is from now. I think I'll just be fine to forget.
How far did you get, Lucas?
Not that far. I kind of got where Talia was. But my thing is, like, I need Dan Simmons to come back with, like, a remastered version. Like, Adam, you know how it is. You like video games. Like, when you have a game that's got a lot of potential, but it's kind of clunky, and then they do some, like, quality of life adjustments and make it easier. It's like you could swap some of these all around to, like, ease your audience into it a little bit, instead of, like, you know, smacking them upside the jaw right out the gate with the priest tale. And you're like,
yeah, if that's the beginning, I thought things were going to get worse. And so that's why I decided to protect myself.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, that's a totally selfish thing, and he probably has justification, and maybe you find that out in book 2. But yeah, I think, again, like, where everything was this month unplanned, it was like, okay,
I do want to acknowledge this, because I'll be honest, we do obviously, and Christy feels like Christy will never not, because she's Christy, but like the amount of pressure to absolutely finish every single book for the discussion, I will say, like, it is real, and it is our responsibility, because we are the hosts of the book club. It is our job. So that being said, the guilt for not finishing this one is intense.
Heavy guilt.
But also, sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do.
No, and
that was the,
you know, like, real moment. Like, yeah, it does get hard some months, because we are, like, we all hold this, you know, in high regard, and it's an important part of our lives. But like, some months are crazy, and when you've got a big book to finish, and it's just like, you know what?
Sometimes life throws you curveballs, and sometimes life doesn't throw you curveballs. Sometimes life trips you and then pushes you in a mud puddle, and then stomps on you and is like, ha, and runs away. And that was the
so Dan, thank you. It does weigh because I think it's like one of the only ones that I've really not been able to plow through. But we have a good track record of how many 40.
A lot of books.
40
Lot of
something.
books.
And this
Yeah,
one
we're
is a hard.
talking
This is a hard
lot
book to plow through. It's
years.
not a plow through. It doesn't. Like there's certain parts that are page turners, but some parts you're just like, get to it, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we can.
Some parts were like nightmares, like actual nightmares.
Oh, you have no idea. You will.
Like literal
You will, though.
nightmares, actually.
So we have basically these pilgrims who are on their way. This is the final pilgrimage to the time tombs on Hyperion. They're supposed to be opening, and they've got to get there
And this is
before
the last
last one.
pilgrimage
The
before
ousters,
the
are
ousters,
coming
like,
to
destroy everything, or
invade, attack. There's going to be
invade.
war.
Yeah.
And so these pilgrims, these 7 people,
7 people
are going to, because they've got to be a prime number, are going to Hyperion to do this pilgrimage to go see what's in the time tombs.
And interesting little like detail that they slipped in and then never really addressed again was that the Shrike, I guess, is going to listen to each of the pilgrims and grant
Pick one.
one wish and then kill the rest.
Kill the rest. Also
They-
the Shrike are
Y'all
there.
read that, so if you don't remember it, it's because like they just glossed over it. It's like one little bitty line.
Because my brain
Thank you,
decided to
Father.
protect itself in a happy little bubble and was like, delete.
yeah,
So we have Father Hoyt. We've got
Ugh.
Colonel Fedman Cassad, the soldier, Martin Silenus, the poet, Sol Weintraub, and his baby Rachel, the scholar, Pet Mustine, the starship captain, the tree ship captain, Bron Lamia, the detective, and the consul, who is not named. Those are the ones, and then that's the order of stories that we hear, minus Het Mustine's, because we don't get his story. So I guess we can.
yeah. I think a really good way to do this is to just go down the list in the order that they did and talk about each story, since they are so different,
They
even
are
though
very
they
different.
are interconnected. So,
And yeah, this is a hard book to try to cram into an hour too, because it's so much book.
yeah,
It's like 7 books.
and we're already down 18 minutes.
Oh no!
It's fine. I'm
You got
here to
it.
support you after we get through part 1.
Okay, so part 1, Father Hoyt's story via Father Duray's journal.
So this is the priest's tale, the man who cried God.
This was like a bizarre episode of like Star Trek, where they beam down to an alien planet and try to like make first contact and like whatever. This is kind of a first contact story with the Baikura,
Except a horror movie.
except Kelly. We're seeing her reaction real time. Yep, that's what I said. So Father Hoyt escorted Father Duray to Hyperion, but didn't go with him. His Father Duray's exiled to Hyperion to stay with this.
Well, he
He's-
chose to do
He chose
that. Yeah.
to. He had to travel through these fire forests or some such. It was a very harrowing journey, and he finally got there, and there was like tension, and he didn't understand what was going on. They didn't understand him, but they were very like rigid and specific and humorless and blah blah blah. Long story short, he became of the cruciform.
Yeah, which meant like a cross is like embedded into
It
his
was like
chest.
a parasite or something.
And if he dies, he gets brought back
But not right.
forever.
He
But the cruciform hates pain. So he comes up with this plan to
basically
torture himself, but it doesn't go quite right. And so he ends up torturing himself for like 7 or 8 years.
7
Yeah.
years.
And that's when Father Hoyt comes back and finds
oh
him
god, he's just been stapled to that tree for 7 years, being electrocuted over and over
to
and
death
again.
and then brought back.
What?
And then it
Allie
turns
loves
out,
zombie movies and stories. So.
yeah, we did kind of get a zombie accidentally.
Yep. Again.
Henry.
But then Father Hoyt ends up joining the Crucifix clan as well, and wearing
He got
Duray's
Duray's cruciform and he got
cruciform.
his own. So he was in bad shape.
and then they leave, and then the Bikura all get like bombed.
Yeah, they
away,
like firebombed them.
Yeah, like
But-
as they're leaving.
But Hoyt is now cursed with 2 of these parasite things, 2 of these cruciforms, and he's not in very good shape.
Well, because there's also like a distance thing. Like the cruciform doesn't like to be away from
The Shrike,
Home
the
planet.
yeah.
and that there was a Shrike involved. The Shrike was in the temple,
Uh-huh.
and gave him the cruciform.
Yeah.
Basically, gave him the thing. He is of the cruciform now. You know, like, so that's all you get, really, of
Yeah, that's
of that.
it.
Like, that's what happened, and
So
he's
I guess he's going on the pilgrimage to try to get Father DeRay back. I don't
I
actually
don't know what his purpose of going on the
why
like
he's
what's his
going.
because everybody has to have a wish, and I'm not sure. I don't remember what his was.
Well,
So
like I
somebody,
didn't understand why he would wear DeRay's cross or the cruciform anyways, because
I don't think he chose to.
if DeRay comes back, DeRay's gonna be pissed. He went really far to like die for real.
So all of these natives were from the original seed ship from 400 years ago.
Yeah.
So they've just been there for a long, long
And
time.
I guess each
Keep
time
getting
they
brought
come
back.
back, they like lose a little something. Is how I interpreted it.
I don't know if I remember this right, but did Father Dre finally die? I think he did.
He did because
He was like
Coit
released, right?
touched
Like
the cruciform and it fell off.
Then he smiled,
Yeah.
You.
and then he died.
Yeah.
And then, but Father
The
Hoyt
true
now I'm
death,
guessing,
yeah.
is he got the true.
But I
Ooh.
don't know if it's so true because
So true.
so true.
we did find out what happens when you have like two cruciforms.
Yeah, he got double cursed. So, but here's the thing, like, that's
Maybe
the
that's
story.
his wish is to just die.
And that
Maybe.
his
Yeah.
his body died.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
that's kind of how I saw it or read it.
Remember, the cruciform can regrow a person from nothing. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, I hate it. I hate it.
My goodness. So, but so like that was the story. That's what we got, and then we're just left with.
This makes me want to claw my skin off.
Oh.
So we started with like a nightmare story.
But and it was such a slow start too.
It really
and then like
was.
the very last got just so
Like torture.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
reading it, and I like talked to Chris. I was like, "What is this? Why am I reading
I
this?"
thought these people were just going to a planet, man.
Yeah, and then
Yeah, a pretty planet according to the cover with a cool looking spiky dude. Wrong.
yeah, Cool Luke and Spiky Dude, not cool.
Wrong.
Yeah, Groot was
Creepy
gonna
bad.
welcome them
Murder
on their,
torture bad.
That's the
on their little
Shrike.
pirate
Yeah.
ship.
But like, so and then we get like this nugget of like WTF at the end, and then they're like, "All right, who wants to tell the next story?"
yeah,
And
basically.
the next story we get is the colonels, soldiers, Fedman Kassan. This was a very different story.
The
This was
Let's talk about
soldier's
some-
tale.
Talk about some boobs.
this
the
was
war
sex and
lovers.
action
There
and
were
sex and action.
so many boobs, but they're
This-
all like of the same person.
Yeah,
Or
yeah. There's only one
thing.
set
One
of boobs.
person
which-
had a lot of boobs.
yeah, they're like just covered in them.
Moneta.
Like Total Recall.
So Colonel Kassad, we get this like long backstory where he's like in the holodeck in like 1700s, and he's like he escapes or he like runs into the woods, and there's a woman there, and she helps him kill somebody, and then they have sex, and then the story is basically like he keeps advancing through the ranks, and then he keeps advancing through the ranks, and like throughout his life, this mystery woman keeps appearing and
but just like in his
having sex with him
in the holodeck.
in the holodeck. So
Hmm.
they keep meeting up. They don't talk to each other. They never say a word. He's just doing the deed with this mystery woman he doesn't know anything about. He's like in love with her or whatever. He's just chasing her. Eventually, he fights this big battle that's brought up in several other stories as well. And he
Gets injured.
He gets injured. He's on a medical ship. That medical ship gets taken over by the ousters.
Mhm.
He escapes down to the planet, and on the planet he finds the Moneta, which is the lady
in real life.
in real life. She takes him to this place. They get all chromy and do it again, and then the Shrike appears, the Lord of Pain. They wipe out the ousters, right?
Like because they like mess with the time. Like the ousters are moving in like really, really slow. It's just
Yeah.
like Quicksilver.
Yeah, they slow down time and just massacre all the ousters. And then Moneta is like, let's do it again. And then she turns into a insane spike creature with vagina teeth. put that on a t-shirt. And
T-shirt of the week.
and while they're and
Can
he's like,
someone
oh,
please get a GIF of Adam just doing this over and over again?
and
Adam stops.
Colonel Kassad is like, oh dear, and
While
barely
Yeah,
misses
like right before his
right
climax.
right before, and then just starts
like-
fire. This is how he is telling the story.
Wait, hold on. I don't want to read the book. I just want the audiobook version
Of Adam
of
telling
Adam
this.
trying to tell the story. It's
So they
way
get-
more interesting.
So like she turns into this creature.
This is great.
He's
Yeah,
just
story time.
like narrowly avoiding impregnating her,
Mhm.
and then
And then he leaves.
and then he wakes up somewhere else, and he's like, "Well, that was a thing." And
Leanne.
yeah, no, this
Okay, I don't want to speak for anybody, but I'm pretty sure everybody would be real strong if all of a sudden it grew teeth.
he barely made it, man. But then she just like
What,
wasn't-
Adam, what
that's a-
happened next?
it's not so much that he just pulled out. He finished
Yeah, he did.
for like 10 minutes. This is what's actually happened.
This book is so much better.
Yeah, I
as-
love this.
as a retelling. Just do it, audiobook.
I'm sweating.
A retelling by Adam Schwartz.
So yeah. Brandy got it. So then he didn't impregnate the weird Shrike lady in the Lord of Pain.
Oh, Rachel, he's not though.
It's
He's not.
truly happened. And then so his thing was that he wanted to kill the Lord of Pain.
Yeah.
Did you write the Grinch?
No, I ripped it from some website.
Oh.
I think I typed all of this. I have like 6 pages of like.
Okay, fair. That's fair. So Fedma Kassad's story was all action and
Click
sex.
through.
And it was like an action film and a sex film.
Yeah, basically.
But the guy who played Colonel Kassad in the audiobook had a great voice.
Yeah.
Speaking of great voices, Martin Silenus was next, the
We're
poet.
moving on. We didn't even like talk. We just recapped it.
Do we need?
I
to
feel
talk
like
about
you
it?
said plenty.
I
Honestly,
There's a
I
lot.
feel
Of,
like
like. Did you
You
like
said
it?
plenty.
Did you like the?
Did you
I
did
like
you like
parts of the soldier's story. I think
It's like
some
a
people
Venus
said that
flytrap.
like it felt too actiony. Like there wasn't enough of anything else.
That's pretty much all it was.
Yeah, but
yeah,
I mean,
who was it? Someone said it was smut, but not well done.
yeah. Well, someone else said that they really liked the when he was on the hospital ship or whatever, and it was getting attacked by
That was
Alsters. That was a really
That was exciting.
great scene. Yeah, it
exciting.
was really fun to read.
but yeah, it was very just action film. Just that was the most popcorny part of the whole book.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about Martin Silenus.
The
The
Poet's
Poet.
Tale, Hyperion Cantos. Now, we agree. I don't know if everybody else does, but oh my gosh, this dude is annoying.
Martin sucks.
Like, but on the flip side, I actually really enjoyed his story.
The story was interesting. He's the oldest of all the pilgrims. He was born on old Earth and was sent away during the big mistake.
Of a poet.
Yeah.
So he was born on old Earth. His mother sent him off. The big mistake happened. Earth got black holed.
What a nice way to call the Earth ending. The big
The
mistake.
big
Sounds
mistake.
like something out of Hitchhiker's Guide.
Whoopsie.
But
Mistake.
his story was just like as a struggling poet.
Well,
like
but he also dealt with a lot of things. Like his mom sent him away, and so he was like in transport for like 20 years or something like that. And she had invested a bunch of money that when he woke up at the end of the trip, like he was going to be rich, except that it didn't happen like that because,
she agrees that Ron Lamey would agree. You want to punch him.
oh yeah, he's awful. as a person, but he's a great storyteller.
Yeah.
But then when he actually woke up, the investments had flopped, so he was completely poor, and something had went wrong, and he basically lost all of his speech except for like 7 curse words.
So that was funny. That part I thought was funny.
For someone who is like so into the English language,
words.
yeah, so into words, he lost all of them but like 7.
But they were all like profanity.
Yeah, but he was able to make it work, and I really enjoyed.
Yeah, he had a stroke.
That. Yeah,
he had a stroke. That's what happened. He had a stroke and he lost all of his language, but he like relearned it
After like years of working in like manual labor.
Yeah. So he worked. He did manual labor, and he learned kind of how to talk again. And he started working for this publisher, and he wrote the Dying Earth,
Mm-hmm.
and it took off. And then he couldn't really recapture that glory.
well,
right?
they edited it to hell basically first.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was a poetry. The first one was poetry, and the timing was just so perfect that it went crazy. And then they kind of bullied him into writing like 9 more books.
He became like the sequel man, and they bullied him into writing 9 more, and he kind of lost his muse, and etc. Blah blah. He finally told his publisher to F off after they wanted him to write the Dying Earth 10.
And
He said no.
Basically went broke.
But then he went to Hyperion.
Well, first he met King Billy, and then King Billy ended up moving to Hyperion,
Right.
bringing his whole court to Hyperion, and he went with him.
Sad King Billy.
Sad King Billy.
And so they went to Hyperion, and he found his muse again, and the muse was the Shrike,
That's
the Lord of Pain.
Yeah, so people started dying in Sad King Billy's little kingdom, and so most of them moved away, but he stayed because he had finally like started writing again, and some other people stayed too, but they all like over years were like murdered.
They were systematically murdered, and it was
Yeah.
because he was somehow summoning this Shrike as his muse, and King Billy figured it out and started destroying his. Interesting. King Billy started destroying his poem,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Shrike appears and
Kills
King Billy.
Billy.
And then Martin.
Oh, it says this summary says that the Shrike disappears with Billy, but I don't remember that.
I thought the Shrike just killed him. I don't know, but yeah, Martin Salinas did some weird stuff.
Oh yeah, he got really bored, and this was before they moved to Hyperion, and so he got a doctor to change him physically. Where is it?
Into like a goat man,
And yeah,
and then he started having sex with a lot of people
yes,
as a goat.
He did do that.
He's a poet, you know. I mean,
He enjoyed it.
yeah, so did they.
Yeah.
Everybody was having a good time. So yeah, the king starts setting the manuscript on
He
fire.
paid a body sculptor to alter himself into a satyr,
Mhm.
satyr, and he spent 10 years deflowering
Like
women
Mr.
in this
Tumnus?
form.
Mr.
Sure.
Tumnus.
No, thank you.
Well, that's disturbing.
Action.
Yeah, so he's seen some things, but basically the climax of the story, not necessarily in the same way that the Colonel's climax was an actual climax, but
I'm
yeah,
learning a lot.
the
This is
Shrike
interesting.
Billy, and then he left.
Yeah. And so now he is on this trip, on this pilgrimage, because he wants to get his muse back because he hasn't been able to write since.
Yeah, but his story was interesting. Again, it was kind of long-winded for me. Like
It
that, we
was.
got a lot of backstory on him, and a lot of him like struggling to.
It was really fascinating, like hearing about the Earth's last years too.
That was fascinating.
It was really
I'd be interested in that.
Oh, and people were mentioning his house when he was like at the height of his authory fame.
His stardom.
He had a house, and each, I guess, doorway basically was a
He
portal
was a Farcaster.
into a different
Planet.
room from on a different planet. Like, so you would go into the bathroom and it takes you on a raft that's on a like ocean to like do your business.
Yeah, that's his bathroom.
Yeah. And then some people were saying that I guess you would go upstairs and it would take you down, and like each room had a different view.
It was
of
like
a
an
different
MC
planet,
Escher
and yeah,
house.
That's
it was
cool.
really, really cool.
Just a quick interjection. If someone could, in the comments, like as we move forward, could someone just specify what the difference is between a satyr and a fawn? Because I'll be honest, I don't know.
Mr. Tumnus got his groove back.
Oh,
I
yeah.
I would like to know what the difference is between a satyr and a fawn.
Yeah.
But we can
Yeah.
progress.
So this would be a great time to talk about this. The time debt is when you're not traveling. There's like two different kinds.
No, time debt is when you are traveling. It's how many years you've missed in your because when
you're asleep.
when you're traveling, time is not going fast for you, but like it is for everyone. It's like the whole relativity thing.
That's great. I love
It's like
relativity.
an Ender's Game.
Yeah.
you know, that whole
Yeah.
thing deals with
That's
that.
the
Like,
best part of Ender's Game.
so they call it a time debt because like you've lost that many years. Like you come out of your fugue and like 25 years have passed.
Mhm.
So you have like a time. Your trip is going to give you a time debt of 25 years. I get that right?
And then the genetic treatments. There's treatments that you can have that will prolong your life, basically. And Martin Silenus did a lot of those, which is why he was kind of blue.
He was like a blue man.
You guys correct me if I'm wrong.
I think he was bluish.
It's
But
Blue Man Group.
as much as I didn't like Martin Silenus, I thought his story was okay.
Yeah, I didn't like him as a character, but I did like his story.
Yeah, I remember I didn't like him from the start. Like I was like, this guy's skeezy, and I don't care for him.
Well, he stayed skeezy
He
throughout the
did.
entire thing. So, okay, well, as we're moving through this now, I think we can get to what I can quickly say was like my favorite story and the most heartbreaking story.
Oh, easily.
Saul Weintraub, the scholar. Oh my God! Like
Is it
I'm
the one
glad-
with
baby.
the baby daughter?
I read
No.
this one and I was like,
Mm-mm.
I'm so glad we read this book just so that I could have read this story.
yeah, this
Like it
story
made the
was
whole book worth it to me.
so Saul Weintraub and his daughter Rachel. Rachel grows up to be like 25 and goes to study the time tombs on Hyperion. Something happens on Hyperion. She gets attacked by the Shrike and contracts this disease, which causes her to age backwards.
But like one day at a time. So every day she wakes up and she forgets everything that happened later in like where her life is, and she like de-ages.
And so as
basically.
she de-ages, she like mentally can only remember up until like that day that her age is. Like if she's back to being 12, she thinks she's 12 and nothing after that has happened. So Saul and his wife, Sarai, I don't know. Saul and his wife are having to like, they are obviously still aging. So when Rachel wakes up and she's 12 and they look older, they're like, she's like, what the hell? And they have to like constantly like make up lies and stories about what happened to her friends and like where they are, and like it's just like they're just like watching her age
And
backwards.
it starts like 50 First Dates, where like she had a recording of herself explaining to herself what had happened and like what she will have forgotten. But then eventually, like Julie, I think it was where like Kelly said, like she eventually told her parents to like stop telling me what
Yeah,
was
she said,
happening,
"Don't."
because she would freak out every single time, and it was like taking over her life. And her parents, like she ended up moving back in with her parents, and they did everything they could. Like they did a ton of they like reached out to a bunch of doctors, and they started doing genetic treatments so they wouldn't look older and they would last longer, and nothing worked.
But they're also having this nightmare, this
Oh, yeah.
dream. Like Saul is having this dream where they're saying like, bring your daughter to the Hyperion and to a place of which I will choose,
and like sacrifice her or
something. I don't know if it's sacrifice, but something along those lines. And like apparently Sarai or his wife was having the same dream, or some version of the same dream. They're like, we've got to go back to Hyperion. They're like, she's not going to make. They, she's not going to make it in fugue state. We'd have to go on the, like awake basically, and nobody can survive that. And so I guess eventually they do. He gets like she de-ages so much that she becomes a baby again, and Saul decides like he finally gets approval to take her to the last Shrike pilgrimage. And that one actually goes up to like right before the story starts. Like he ends up like getting on the Yggdrasil, which is the tree ship.
Yeah, because like by the time they actually get to like where the book ends up, she's like a week old or days old.
Yeah,
like she's getting there. She's about to disappear.
She's about to just. But yeah, but the journey.
Go back to being like an egg.
I don't know. They were wondering that too. They were like, well, "What's going to happen? Is she just going to like disappear one day?"
And you didn't mention that at one point her mom actually has an accident and dies.
Oh yeah, she dies.
And so every single day, her dad has to explain where mommy is.
Yeah, and first he starts saying that she died, but then after that he just starts like saying she's not here, and
we'll see her tomorrow.
Rachel's like, "Oh, we'll see her tomorrow." He's like, "Yeah." Like every single day. This man has been through some stuff.
This story was heartbreaking, and it was so beautifully told.
Don't like it.
Yeah, this was it was very well written, and it was like I remember calling it because I was on the road, and I called Christy, and I was like, "Oh God,
no!"
I just read that.
No, why are y'all commenting things?
Yeah, no,
Hang up.
This book was this story was, I think of all of them, like I could have just read this one and it would have been like, oh my God, it was moving, it was heartbreaking, and now you're like invested in his story. Like of all of them, more than anybody else, like I'm rooting for Saul to like whatever to like cure Rachel. That's all I want from the rest of the story. And Rachel had a boyfriend on Hyperion. He was a scientist, and then he shows up later when she's like 13 or 10 or something like that, and it just breaks his heart to see that she doesn't, yeah. I mean, this is like Benjamin Button, but like good.
So far, I feel like I absolutely made the right call by not continuing to read this book. None of you have changed my mind yet.
It was so good, though.
But I don't want to cry.
If you don't want to read that, you probably just shouldn't read the rest of the book, because I think it's the best thing in this book. It was so good, but it absolutely will get you.
Yeah, if you want happy fun books, this is not a happy fun book. But
I'm
it was
still really interested. I think I would go through this.
Extremely well written.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Martin did this. The poet still, he redeemed himself a little bit. And then I would say that the next two stories didn't really I think as we were reading, they kept getting better and better, and I was like, oh my God, Saul Weintraub's story was just like, whoo. Then we get to Bron Lamia's story, and
it pivots so hard. It's such a different story.
Yeah, we get the detective story, and it was okay. It just wasn't as like impactful as Saul Weintraub's story, and I was disappointed because of what just came before it. Like I'm sure if I read this and it was the first one, I'd be like, hey, this is a pretty good start. But
yeah, maybe he should just like shuffled everything around.
Yeah. Yeah, so with the time debt, it starts getting important for something to happen because Rachel will have to travel at sublight speed because she can't handle going into the fugue state. So
we probably need to do faster recaps because we only have 15 minutes.
Okay. So Bron Lamia, the detective, John Keats, he's a cybrid, and he
they recreated John Keats, and so as an AI, and they made his consciousness is inhabiting like a cybrid body.
He's a cybrid,
but he gets assassinated, but it just kills his body and not him. But he does lose like 10 days or something.
Yeah.
So he hires Bron Lamia to figure out why this happened and who did it and everything.
They fall in love. There's some sex.
For some reason, it happens so fast.
A lot of sex.
And then
none of this time.
No, not
Nope.
this time. But then he ends up getting assassinated again, but he ends up able to download his consciousness into like a port or something that he had installed in her neck or something. Oh, and yes, thank you, Henry. She's pregnant
She gets pregnant by the robot man,
by Johnny.
and she has his data in her brain or into a port. And so Jeff says it's a lot of setup for book 2, which I think is good because they also go into this. They infiltrate like the technocore, the AI technocore, to pull out this data, and that part was pretty cool, even though it was bonkers.
It was
I didn't understand what was happening. BB's head explodes. They call him BB because his butt looks like BB's.
He's like helping them
Categories.
with this. And he stops being part of the cloud basically and is just becomes part of the body or just in the body, and that makes him human apparently.
Johnny. Talking about Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny.
A fine line, Mr. Moore.
This is what's going to happen with Chat GPT. It's going to have a BB bud eventually. Get someone pregnant.
No, that was Johnny. Johnny did that. Johnny Keats, and he was like the reconstituted John Keats from old days, the poet.
Yeah.
So, and they were going to join the pilgrim. They were going to join the pilgrimage, but Johnny gets killed.
Yeah.
And so Braun goes by herself.
But he's with her in the port thingy that's in her.
Yeah. Johnny 5 is alive.
Five is alive.
So Johnny's in her brain, but also she's pregnant with his robot baby.
He's
not in her brain. He's like in a data thing that's
it's like on a hard drive
in
basically.
her. But so they can't talk or anything.
It's
He's just like downloaded into her.
It's just like on an external
or
hard drive
something.
that's like attached to her.
But also she's pregnant with his robot baby.
Yeah, and it's not a robot baby because I think his human form was human. It was just like it was just like grown human.
Okay.
And so yeah, that was a thing. And then
Yeah,
finally we get to the console story, which to me was, I think, the worst one.
So the console story had some really interesting parts about it. But what really bothered me was it jumped in time so much that it was like, it just felt chaotic. So the console story is actually the console's grandfather's story. And he's like,
Marin.
Yeah, he's like, what, 17 or something? And he
meets this,
he's
they're like
working
on
a ship to build a Farcaster building
portal
on Ceres Island or on her world. And so he has to keep doing this time debt travel where he'll travel for 10 years of Ceres time, but it's only like a week of his time. And so we keep getting like interspersed little stories of him not growing older at all and her growing way older. But they have this relationship. They end up having like 2 kids together.
They have lots of sex.
And like the island makes this like whole story like or legend around their relationship, and so she ends up like becoming
Important.
really important. Yeah.
But he meets her at this festival, and they go off and have sex, and his buddy gets killed, and then he comes back, and like he just keeps coming back.
But at the same time, he's also going to her grave because he's supposed to do like this last.
The story is framed
thing.
by her funeral.
But it's done in such an odd way that it was really jumpy.
Yeah, it like bounced back and forth between time periods and like the funeral and the reunions that he had when she was alive, and all the sex that they have. They apparently they have this device that can talk to dolphins, and so it like translates dolphins. So they go down, and the dolphins are with these moving islands. And there's these moving islands, and they're pretty cool. So they go down, swim with the dolphins, and like
Agreed, Kristen.
he's talking about he's trying to talk to the dolphins. She starts, they start like having sex while talking to the dolphins. It was such a bizarre moment, such a weird moment of
Questioning Mr. Simmons here.
That's fair.
he's a horny guy.
Yeah.
And the thing about like. Like so anyway, the console is their grandson.
Yeah.
And basically the consul's got a beef because the hegemony killed his son and ruined his grandmother's life or whatever. Into the Farcaster like made this planet not what they wanted it to be, and
well, the hegemony, like because of all the touristy stuff, it killed all the dolphins and all of the wildlife on the planet too.
Yeah,
which they're really upset about.
But
so so like what Jeff says is the hegemony destroys the uniqueness of the planets because of what they come in and basically homogenize everything for the web worlds, and Siri fought against that. That's passed along to Marina's grandchildren, who is the consul, and the consul's got some chips on his shoulder, and he's just biding his time so he can get his like revenge against the hegemony for being assholes. And so he does. He's the one that in the beginning they're like, "There's a traitor among you." It's him, and
But he's a double agent. He's betraying both sides.
Yeah, he works for his own self.
Yeah.
He's the one that actually opens the time tombs early. The ousters were gonna do it timed with their invasion, but he said F that, boom 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 boom, and then I know it froze weirdly, didn't it? And then and so he opens the time tomb, and there you go. So but I will say and then they're off to see the wizard.
Yes. Yes.
And
They
then
all start singing a song together.
As they march toward the time tombs,
happens
they
to
all start
be-
singing a song, and it's "We're off to see the wizard," and then the story ends.
Yep. Oh, also at the same time, Head Mustine walked to the time tombs right before that.
Head Mustine disappears somewhere here and there. We never
With
get
a
his
lot
story.
of blood. Yeah, we don't get his story, and then he goes to the time tombs, and then they're like an hour behind him, and then the book ends.
Yeah, and then it ends. So huge not ending to this book. I'm so sorry again for not. I'll take partial blame because y'all voted for it. But
It's true.
I was
It's
gonna say,
true.
yeah,
You just
y'all
gave them the option.
voted for it.
and
Adam
but
did. Adam chose this poll.
it says to be continued in book 2, basically.
Oof.
Yeah.
But,
So you already started book 2, right, Adam?
No, I have. Oh God. But all that's we just basically summarize this book. I won.
Okay.
What?
Can I just really quick say thank you though? Because honestly, the two of you telling me this book is like the most interesting story time that I have been on the receiving end of in I don't even know
I
how
feel like
long.
we were all over
Like,
the place.
No, I would 100% sign up for a class where y'all just read a book and then tell me the story. Like, this was fun for me. Thank you.
Yeah.
So the good thing about this, I mean, this book is imaginative AF. It's imaginative.
Stop doing that with your hands.
There's
Please
a lot of
never do that with your hands again.
Ooh, this is a good thought, Julie.
oh my gosh, interesting. But yeah, there's so many like interesting concepts. They deal with a lot of like, as sci-fi does, deals a lot of like, looking at ourselves through the future. There's a lot of interesting notions, interesting stories, a lot of sex.
Mhm.
But like,
I didn't vote for it either. It's okay.
I will have to say, like, I'm glad I read it. It definitely felt like I ran a marathon, and I was like, whew, check that off my bucket list, I guess. I do want to. Oh, we're fuzzy. We're fuzzy.
Uh-oh.
Oh God.
Oh, what
Oh God.
There it is.
There
Now I
it
have to
is.
say
Now
it. Okay.
slowly lean. Okay.
So, I do want to read the second one. I don't know when. I don't think I could read it right now because,
Might need a break between.
but I really do want to know how this ends or like more. And I think it might have been Jeff who says that the second book is much more linear. It's not like a series of stories.
Yeah.
It just tells you a story from beginning to
Well,
end.
and I need to
Good.
know. I read about the second book that there's like more poetry than in the first book, and I need to know if y'all feel like that's accurate because
There's a lot of poetry in this book.
there was a lot of poetry in this book.
When I got to the poetry, I just glossed over. I didn't
Oh,
understand.
and I'd also like to know if anybody has like experience with John Keats before reading this book, if that like
Does that help?
did that
Is
help?
it like knowing about Charles Dickens
Be-
when reading Uriah Heep?
Yeah, because all of these,
Mhm.
almost all of these stories were connected to John Keats in some way. And Hyperion is actually a poem that John Keats read or wrote.
Yeah, I'll get right on that.
A bonus live stream.
But
I'm
you
here
know,
for
I
it.
think that there are some things that are a little bit dated. You know, some of the writing style stuff, like the way he describes women, is like got a little old for me. Like
Yeah.
he was very focused on their nipples.
Well, and also, I'm really interested what Talia is
Are you sneezing?
reacting at. But I don't know. He didn't really. The women in this story weren't treated the right way. Like they weren't big enough parts of the story. And
Yeah,
a couple of people have mentioned that.
I think that even the ones that were kind of viewed as there was a little bit of like manic pixie dream girl in some of the way that the men fell in love with the women was very like the same, and that like it was just like she was magical and then we had sex a lot. It was basically like how people connect in this book. But yeah,
I thought it was also interesting. Sorry, go ahead, Talia.
No, you actually are talking about the book, which is important.
How each of the pilgrim stories are someone else's story, except for Saul. No, not Saul.
what?
Martin Silenus. No, it's not even, is it?
No, it's everybody's story except for the console story starts out as somebody else's story, and then Father Hoyt's is basically somebody else's story.
And Saul Weintraub's is Rachel's story.
Well, not really. I mean, Rachel is very much there, but I think it's still sort of through his, except for the ones that were actually like Rachel on Hyperion, when there's absolutely no way that anybody could have known what she went through, because like she forgot it, nobody else was there. Like how do we know? Like that's one of the places where the book like really went like omniscient and described what happened to Rachel in the Sphinx, because like I don't like that couldn't have been communicated to anybody in a retelling, right?
Yeah.
Because she was alone.
And then she was like in a coma.
Yeah, and then she was in a coma and she forgot everything. She didn't remember any
Because
of
she
that
was already
happening.
losing days at that point.
So like the fact that we got that, like I don't like the book just kind of said, oh yeah, this happened. And like Saul couldn't have told that part of the story because he didn't know it.
Yeah.
Rachel didn't know it.
Yeah.
So like we just got that.
Yes, Talia.
Yes.
Judy had a comment about the hand gesture as an inside joke. And then I had a horrible t-shirt idea about a stack of books and a pair of hands on top, but it says DNF.
Oh no.
I mean, technically he did, but
Well,
not.
he effed.
But not
he
in
didn't
the.
finish.
No, he
Well,
did. He effed.
But
like,
not in the
a lot.
book.
Like he
What
effed
if it
for,
was
like,
what if it was oh my god, so it's an open book but with teeth and it says DNF.
There you go. That's good. Just mock it up.
Let's mock it up.
But really, Casada effed for like 10 minutes.
Adam and Christy, thank you for carrying this discussion tonight. We appreciate that.
It was
Like I'm sure you're exhausted, but this was so interesting and fun for me and totally different. And I'm so sorry we put all of the pressure on you, but my God, that was so much more enjoyable for me than actually trying to get through the book. So thank you.
so.
Woof.
So thanks for the
Mom saw
prologue of the story, because obviously that's
The
a major
next book is the
cliffhanger.
book.
Yeah, but it was epic science fiction. It was all sorts of epic. It was like
Thank
a bunch of great short stories. But whoo, that was not the easiest book we've had to read in Literarily
No.
Wasted. But what's coming up next?
I know. It's on my bookshelf. It's called Keeper of Enchanted Rooms.
Keeper of Enchanted Rooms.
Yes,
There we go.
it's over there. Thank you. Okay, it was on the shelf.
It's not as big as Hyperion.
No.
And the font is nice, and there's
It is-
space
it
between
is
the
a good
lines.
secret club
It's
handshake.
beautiful. No, dude.
Ah, you would literally
no,
listen?
no, yuck. I don't want to do that with Peter Rabbit.
That's how we clap for each other now.
No, I'm gonna make a book with teeth, and it's gonna say DNF. Can't wait.
Yeah, that's going to be a good shirt. But we've got Keeper of Enchanted Rooms coming up next. This should be a little bit different than Hyperion.
April 26th.
April 26th, and we've got our next club meeting where we can
April
have fun,
12th.
fun time, fun games, fun and games.
Fun and games.
And
Fun
before
and
we,
games.
before we leave, Italia, I think you might owe some high fives.
I don't. Here's the thing. Those high fives were for people that finished the book, and I didn't. So I can't. I am unworthy of the high fiving. Yeah. Do
You
it.
did it. Yeah.
Look at
I can ascend. I've ascended.
So,
We deserve
y'all-
it
and
for finishing,
on-
though. He struggled.
I did.
on a bit of a serious note, y'all keep Joe Kuykendall and his
Yes.
family
Yes.
in your thoughts. They're going through some stuff right now, and any thoughts and prayers and well wishes, I know he would appreciate it if you feel comfortable to reach out. But Joe's been a big part of our
love
community
you,
for a
Joe.
long time. Yeah.
me.
So he's a good guy and going through some stuff, and we'll leave it at that. But your lit fam is with you. So
Yes, always.
Christy and Adam, y'all need to high five for me. Just to the camera. Look for everyone who did finish the book. There you go. Go on.
let's do the handshake, Talia.
No, thank you. Mm-mm.
This should be your punishment.
Yeah, a round of applause for everybody who finished.
Oh, no. I hate it. I hate it.
Sorry, we totally. Okay.
You
Except for you,
ruined it.
Fedman Kassad. Oh man. There hopefully none of that will be in this book.
I don't think so. I think this is going to be a very different feel.
I
Wow.
heard that there's some romance involved in this one, but I would be shocked if teeth showed up.
I'm gonna use
Yeah.
Chat
You
GPT
never
to
know.
write a
You
romance
never
song.
know. We
Pecker high
weren't expecting it with Colonel Kassad, and then it happened. Then there it was. But okay, so we made it through Hyperion. It's a lot of book to talk about in an hour, so trust me, I will be with you in the Discord. We've got a Discord set up where we've got discussion channels for all the books of the month. Hyperion is there, so if you want to keep talking after this discussion,
I think they already put up a thing for.
Yeah,
this
thank
one.
you, moderators, for
This
Yeah.
honestly
moderating.
seems like the best that we didn't finish. Otherwise, this discussion would have gone on for a whole nother hour.
well,
So
we would have
this
had
is for
a
the
It
best.
was meant to be.
special long discussion. But yeah, I'll definitely see y'all in the Discord.
And I will say, like, after this discussion, going into this discussion, I was not going to read the next book, but I think y'all might have talked me into it.
I'm gonna get the audiobook.
I
So
was
thank-
enjoying the
thank
audio.
you.
Like it was good. So
Yeah. So join the Discord if you want to keep talking about books, and
or other
anything.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's all sorts
so
of-
much stuff over there.
All sorts of topics, and it's a fun place to be. Got a pet party over there and everything.
Oh, I
Pet
think
party.
today it's been shelfies.
Shelfies, you know.
So that's been
Mm.
fun.
You'll see it all. You'll see it all over there in Discord. Y'all have been doing a good job.
Mhm.
But yeah, so we'll see you on April 12th for our Club Fun and Games Hangout meeting. And have a great time.
Thanks for joining us on this very different wild ride of a night.
Yes, it's been fun.
Yay.
no.
No.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.